is a spiritual deity. Freedom and liberty and justice shall fight for you. When you fight for freedom with all your soul, take it from me. This is Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB, the voice of the nation, the voice.
This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.
Good evening, fellow Biafrans. We're back. This is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, and this is Rose Ama. I'm here today with PM Christian Ude, and we are going to have one of our conversations. And this has been long since we chatted. A number of things have happened in that place called Nigeria, but also in our land. Events that have serious implications for us. So we're going to engage in one of our conversations and figure out what's going on, talk about what's going on, see how we can get ourselves out of this contraption for that matter, called Nigeria. Our people are suffering, and the suffering hasn't stopped. Obi, yes. People lined up behind Peter Obi, hoping that Obi would be their salvation. We did warn you not to put all your eggs in one basket, but you did. And now it didn't happen. The question then is, now what? We asked that also right after that convoluted election. Now what? And this tribunal has made its decision. Very, very convoluted decision. In effect, insulted everybody. The question again is, now what? What are you going to do? Are you still going to stay and be insulted, be told that you don't count? Don't you think it is time to return to your ancestral homes? Let's go back and build Biafra. Make it viable. Let's go back and build our homeland. At least there we know that we are on our own soil, not somewhere where we're being told you don't belong or go back to your homeland. It really is time to do the right thing. So, the PM is here. Let's hear from him, PM. You heard my opening, and hopefully, you can share your thoughts with us today. What say ye about what is happening right now in our homeland?
Thank you very much. Let me first of all welcome Biafrans wherever you may be, whether you are in the homeland or you are somewhere in diaspora, in exile. I want to welcome you and thank you for listening to our programs. The situation we find ourselves is really pathetic, and we appear to be like sheep without shepherd. And I ask myself, are there no elders in the land? Are we going to just perish and continue to move from one generation to the other without direction, without strategy, without vision? And a few gullible ones among us who call themselves either politicians or whatever are just satisfied with a few crumbs that they pick from under the table of their so-called master. And as you said, the hopes of many millions were raised with the so-called obedient movement. And our brother Peter Gregory Obi, I really want to give him credit for running what I term the best campaign, ideological based campaign, honest, decent, intellectual, fact-based, and actually had a plan or has a plan to govern in the right way, to turn the lots of Nigerians around, to lift people out of poverty, for people to actually experience what it means to experience good governance, accountability, transparency, holding people accountable, fighting corruption, investing in public services, in education, guaranteeing good health care. He was head and shoulders above the other contestants, and across board, north, south, east, and west, it was clear that he was the best candidate. And young people trooped out in their numbers to elect him. But you know that this is Nigeria we're talking about. You don't become president by people electing you, majority of people voting for you. It is a criminal enterprise run by criminals, drug barons, people who don't even have certificates, people who haven't got a clue what it means to govern. People all their lives have engaged in criminality, in looting, and they've amassed wealth, stolen public funds in order to hold on to power. And I must say, with the help of some Western countries. And the Western countries who took part in colonial escapades still want to keep control of countries in Africa through surrogates. And therefore they turn a blind eye when these drug barons, these criminals, these corrupt individuals rig themselves into power. Oh, they are quickly acknowledged and given credence and support from Western countries that are invited to Paris, to London, to New York to meet world leaders, and they give them their support because they've got control over them. They've got their records of criminality, and so they can tell them and dictate to them what to do. But the correct individuals, the right individuals that will actually turn the things around for the ordinary people in the country are not given a chance. And we should have known from the beginning that the political equation in Nigeria, the odds stack, really against any Biafran or an Igbo man in particular winning power. But I think Peter Gregory Obi broke that that barrier. He was able to come up with a message that cut across every part of the nation. And he won in the Middle Belt. He won in the West, Yoruba land. He won in the so-called South-South, our cousins in the riverine states. And he won nearly 100% in the whole of the Southeast. And he won in the Federal Capital Territory as well. And so the message we sent out to our people before the elections still remains valid. We're not interested in Nigeria election because it can never be credible. It's always predetermined. Tinubu said it was his turn. That was his campaign. It was his turn. He spent billions of public funds that he stole to install Buhari into power and returned him after 4 years. And you have the worst ever administration for 8 years under Muhammadu Buhari. A terrorist apologist who unleashed terror and mayhem, banditry for 8 years, economic failures. Nigeria became the world, the poverty capital of the world. Inflation rocketed. Cost of living became so high. People were dying because they cannot get health care. Out of school children went from about 5 million to 18 million. That was the record of Buhari, who Tinubu spent billions of stolen funds from Lagos to install as president because he never won the election. And what did the APC do after Buhari? Continue to spend ill-gotten wealth to install Tinubu, whose only campaign promise was, "It is my turn." And there you have it. How many days into office? Nigeria has gone from fire to frying pan. Things have got worse. People put their hope in the so-called elections petitions tribunal, but we all knew that it was always going to be a sham. That their decision, their judgment had already been written even before the tribunal sat for the first time. The decision was already written. So there was no way, even with the mountain of evidence that Peter Obi and the Labour Party presented, there was no way, conceivable way, that he was going to get a favorable judgment. So what am I saying to our people, home and abroad? The die is cast. Everything is happening right before our eyes. Are you going to wait any longer to make a decision to support the restoration of the independent state of Biafra? And for many times we say this is our only hope. And events after events after events, as they unfold in Nigeria, you come back to the same conclusion. Biafra is our only hope. And so we have to stand up. Everybody will need to take personal responsibility. You need to ask yourself, what can I do? Whether from the United Kingdom, from the United States of America, from Europe, from Asia, from Africa, from within Biafra land, what can I honestly do to make sure that freedom and liberty and self-determination is achieved in my time, so that we will have the freedom to build a nation whose foundation is strong, is based on fairness, equity, rule of law, opportunity, hard work, determination, and all those things that will drive the ingenuity we know that we have, that we know we can repeat the economic miracles of Emeagwali Okpala in the 60s, that made Eastern Region Biafra land the fastest growing economy at the time, faster than the Asian tiger nations. So the penny should have dropped for all of us. And we need to start to ask ourselves those critical questions. How can we come together and deliver this restoration project in order to extricate ourselves from this sinking ship called Nigeria? It's only when our people at home and in exile, in diaspora, start to ask themselves these questions that we can then all begin to come together within a structured platform to then pursue this noble goal, this noble objective, not through violence, I must say, but through well-established plans and roadmaps that will draw from internationally accepted, methods, political methods, diplomatic methods, democratic methods that are already enshrined even within national and international charters. Because we've got the resources in terms of human, people, expertise in all areas of law, of philosophy, of politics that can help us design or fine-tune the strategies that we already have. So this is a call to everyone to ask themselves this honest question. For how long are we going to continue in that contraption and the disadvantage it places on us, economically and otherwise? How long are we going to continue to complain, ask for seaports in Port Harcourt, in Calabar, in Onitsha, in Osakwe, in Azumili, to ask for proper international airports in Enugu and other parts of Biafra land, to ask for proper roads and railway connections that will improve trade and business opportunities from Nnewi to Lagos, from Onitsha to Aba, Umuahia, Enugu, to connect us properly, to be able to do our business and to generate wealth in the way that we know that we can, and make it possible for people to then live the good life that God has intended us to live, as opposed to this abject poverty and suffering that each and every one of us are going through, experiencing, because we all have relatives at home. And the pain of staying abroad when we know that we can stay in our homeland and contribute, be it in education or health or science or technology or sports, and many other things we can do if we are in our own homeland, free, independent, and able to develop it.
The more we fight together, the more we fight together, and stronger we shall be. The more we fight together, together, together. The more we fight together, and stronger we shall be.
Rising soul, hey, rising soul.
Biafra is the only hope
Of Africa,
Biafra is the only.
Okay, PM. That's important. That's wonderful. You have captured a lot of things here for us. The need for us to rethink where we are right now and the relationship with Nigeria. I'm glad that you have invited Biafrans to look towards home, to develop our homeland. You have asked a serious question, and this is a question of leadership. Years ago, Achebe wrote that the problem with Nigeria is the problem of leadership. But you know, on the one hand, I would say, yes, he got it right. On the other hand, I would say that he didn't get it right. It's not just simply a problem of leadership, but it's also a problem of its own citizens. Us, the people who live in this place, not holding the leaders accountable. And it's not just simply Nigeria. The same people who are sitting now in Nigeria serving as representatives of Biafrans, I would assume that when we do succeed in getting Biafra, we'll turn around and come back and want to serve. This is where I have a problem. Do we want these people to serve and represent us? Are they the types of leaders we want? No, of course not. But we also have to be ready in other ways. And this is knowing what our rights are. We have to hold them accountable. We have to begin by holding ourselves responsible. You asked an important question. What is your role? What will you do? What can you do? What should you do? It's not just simply engaging in the struggle and saying, yes, I'm Biafran, I want Biafra today. But it's also making sure that when we do get Biafra, that the people who are there are held accountable and that we hold them accountable in such a way that we do not lose sight of that promise of a better place. We have to begin now.
Yes, it's a good point that you make. And this is really a time we need to focus on galvanizing the people and getting people to make those decisions for the future, not only for themselves, but looking ahead, thinking about our children and their children and generations to come, you know, and what will become of them, you know. So that's how every people, every society, you know, tries to do whatever they can, you know, deliberately to perpetuate themselves, because we know that there have been civilizations that have disappeared, and if you go back and look at why and what has happened to them, you cannot but shudder to the fact that it can happen to us as well, as a people. You know, because you cannot, how long are we going to continue to be complacent as a people? I've spoken to some elders in the land, you know, really, one of the, you know, elders that we can say, yeah, these are our leaders, or we are our leaders, and now elder statesmen. And looking at the people we have now as politicians, you cannot but, you know, think, what the hell? Are we not in danger of, self-harm without knowing it, imploding within ourselves? And if we continue in that trajectory, complete oblivion may become the result. We disappear as a race, as a people. If you look at the frequency with which our people, especially Ndibo, want to leave the shores of Nigeria, want to travel abroad, it's scary. Especially young people, young families. Here in the UK, I see it every day as they come, whether to study or to work, and every day, everybody wants to leave. And if you think about it, if you extrapolate into the future, you begin to get a picture that is, very unpleasant, that it's actually scary. You begin to see that the possibility that in years to come, we may cease to exist. And this has happened to civilizations that are even bigger and more prominent, because they become complacent and their leaders become too corrupt and embedded in selfishness and self-interest that they ignore to do the needful in terms of securing the future, the cultures and the values and the governance systems and control of territory that they require to pass, to strengthen it, to then pass it from generations to generation. And for me, the quest for a separate nation, to restore our nation, is anchored on survival and the endurance of our race. Because there are people that have suffered genocide in the past, people that are surrounded by enemies and hated by these enemies, that they can go to any extent to completely obliterate them from the surface of the earth. That race should, and they survive. And the remnants that survived the genocide and the pogroms have continued to grow and to be successful by themselves. They cannot then completely ignore what's happened to them just 40, 50 years ago, and then sleepwalk into the same, inadvertently sleepwalk into the same danger. I would have thought that we will learn the lessons, whether it is the mistakes of Nnamdi Azikiwe or the mistakes of Aguiyi Ironsi, or some of the mistakes that were made in the past. We know we are so liberal-minded, and our people, we know this, and everybody knows this, that the Igbo man is the most liberal and the most detribalized. So it was our leaders in those days that were talking about national issues, that were even more Nigerian than the others. The Yorubas, we are more interested in being Yoruba and the West. The Hausas, we are more, and the Fulanis, we are more interested in their region. It was our leaders who were were nationalistic in outlook. And it cost us dearly. And in the short period that Munawike Aguiyi Ironsi took over the government, he was complacent as well, a fine soldier, one of the best in the world. but lacked the political tact and the awareness of his people. And consequently, he was a dead man walking, even before he was brutally murdered. And then exposed his entire people, especially those in the armed forces, to danger, because then in the counter coup, over 300 of our fine soldiers were butchered, were just cut down. And what will this generation, what lessons are we learning from those? Not to talk of the actual war of independence, that we fought in self-defense. What lessons did we learn? What mistakes did our leaders make at the time? What lessons did we learn? If people who have, like you said at the beginning, put their eggs in one basket because Peter was saying the right things, because people saw Peter as the Messiah, that he was going to be the leader that would turn Nigeria around, why did they lack the sense of history? Why did people just, become too complacent that they ignored, the warnings from history, that they are sort of, going into a wild goose chase, if you like, that was never going to happen under the structure, the way Nigeria is structured, and under the external powers that still holding Nigeria, under bondage, that was unlikely to happen for somebody like Peter to become president. And so, at the end of this, and the disappointment of the election and the petitions tribunal, the tragedy for us will be if we refuse to do the contemplation that should follow, the deep thinking, and come to the realization that we should change course. So I'm not saying that anyone who is not pro-Biafra is not an Igbo person or is not a good person or not. No, we should have our different views and ideologies. But when things happen that completely, point to threats to our existence if we continue to maintain the status quo, then it doesn't make sense to, continue in that trajectory. And this is why this moment is so critical for us as a people. As we appear to be rudderless at home, the elders appear to have all sold out. We know that we don't have any political leaders because they're all criminals, whether they are all Joseph Carlo or Rochas Okorocha or Hope Uzodinma, they are all there picking up the crumbs from the table, from under the table of their masters and doing the bidding of their masters. They have no interest in providing jobs for millions of young people in Owerri, in Umuahia and Aba, improving the lots of businesses in Onitsha, in Enugu, in Umuahia and Aba. They have no interest in that. All they think about is their own bellies and their pockets. And so new leadership must emerge if we will go into a new chapter. If we are going to create this movement that will deliver the recovery of our nation and the re-establishment of our nation, a new type of leadership must emerge. Otherwise, it becomes counterproductive.
This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.
Thank you, PM. Really, thank you. You're right. We need new leaders, almost as if we needed new names for ourselves. We need new leaders. I have been watching what's happening. At a certain point, people thought that the Ohaneze, especially amongst the Igbos, Ohaneze elders would provide leadership, but they have failed woefully. They are just as corrupt as the rest of them. And you're absolutely right. The current stock or collection of politicians cannot help. They are irresponsible, they're greedy, destructive. I mean, look at what Hope Uzodinma has done to Imo State, turned it into a trash pile. He did not develop any roads. You can't travel from any city or anywhere in Imo State to Owerri. When I was as a kid, it was so easy. You could calculate how much time it would take you. Try that. It's going to take you at least an hour plus to go from, let's say, Ayazo to Owerri. Sorry. Try getting to Aba Market that could easily have been transformed to a world wonder. What do people in Aba Market not build or construct? It's nothing but gutters, potholes, ditches filled with water. You can't go to Olu. Oh, let's not even talk about that. Olu is now a burial ground for our youth. I mean, how do we get out of that?
And sorry to cut in, and this
go
is
on,
someone.
Go on, please. Yes, go.
And this is someone who the people did not elect.
Yes, who was foisted on us.
And he's in Owerri doing the bidding of his masters.
Of course.
That forced him on the people. And so how can we go on that way? And, people who don't understand what it means to govern, who don't understand that it is a national security issue or a state security issue if your youth unemployment figures is over 80%. That means all the graduates that are churning out from all the higher institutions, Imo State University, Federal Polytechnic, Federal University of Technology, Alvan Iko College of Education, which is now a university, so many of them in Imo State alone, churning out graduates upon graduates who come out and roam the streets without jobs. All the industries and factories and businesses that were set up by the Mbakwe administration are all dead. And nobody cares. All they are interested in looting the money and building mansions in Dubai and buying choice properties in Europe and getting the best healthcare abroad. And do you know the worst joke about the governor of Imo State? He doesn't even live in Imo State. He governs the state from Abuja. So when you talk of bad roads, insecurity, lack of health care, no jobs, he doesn't care. He doesn't get it. He doesn't know what to do to change the situation in the state because he doesn't get it. He doesn't live there.
Well, he's not invested. Again, it goes back to my earlier comment. If our people were holding him accountable, holding people like that accountable, that would not be happening because they are complicit in their own exploitation. They are complicit in their own destruction. You talked about people, our communities imploding. Yes, they are complicit in their own, self-harm. Yeah, this is spiting your, what is it? Cutting off your nose to spite your face. The same people who were screaming at a certain point saying they wanted a new leader are the same people who have now turned around and are picking up crumbs from his table. Why would a governor of a state, not live within that state? So how would you know how your people feel or what it means to experience the agonies of that place? When does he get to talk to his people? Does he even know when they sleep or when they eat? The schools are dead. Our youth, they're all engaged in what they refer to as Yahoo activity. Everybody wants to get rich quick.
Because
So,
the government have failed them.
Of course.
The thing is, people are so impoverished and hungry that, and these people know, they've weaponized poverty. You could see teachers can come out and demonstrate because they've not been paid for 16 months. Civil servants who come out and demonstrate because they've not been paid for 6, 7, 8 months. Even when they're paid, they're not paid their full salaries. And these people use thugs to harass them and threaten them and disperse them. And so people live in fear. They're hungry. If you contract malaria, you cannot even afford to get treatment.
Don't even go to the hospitals. By the way, you cannot go to the hospitals.
And because they cannot afford it anymore.
And so
they go to roadside pharmaceutical shops and self-medicate. And the mortality rate continues to drop. People hardly get to 50. Children, mortality rate continues to drop.
I mean, this is.
And so, at what point are we going to say, all of us home and abroad say, we can't possibly continue this way? And this is where each and every one of us will need to sit back, have a little quiet moment and make a decision and say, what can I do? And there's another aspect to this, because I'm not saying people don't know all this, and people are not thinking about it. Whether the civil society, our religious leaders, whether it's the Catholic Church or the Anglican Church or the Pentecostal Church, I bet you a good number of them are thinking about this. They are as worried as you and I. But unfortunately, a lot of people have taken advantage of the Biafra Restoration Project and have bastardized it and have tried or have used it as a vehicle to make money and selling lies and deceit to our people. For many years, a lot of individuals and groups have turned this honest, noble fight into something that is unrecognizable, something that is ignoble. Collecting money and promising to do heaven and earth while they are only interested in their own self. when you make promises that are, outlandish, that are not possible. Oh, I'm going to get Biafra in 2018. I'm going to kill all Nigerian soldiers. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you take the radio waves or social media and you say all sorts, that you have an army, Biafra Liberation Army, you have this, you have that. And people are vulnerable people all over. We have over 2 million young Biafrans scattered all over the world seeking asylum. People who are desperate to live a decent life. They don't want to be in Tbilisi. They don't want to be in Cambodia. They don't want to be in. Could you imagine how many of our people that may have died in the floods in Libya recently, or may have died in the earthquakes in Morocco, in Marrakesh recently, because they have crossed the Mediterranean running away from their homes because of what Nigeria has turned our homes into, because there are no opportunities. Constant decades and decades of non-investment in our region have caused our young people to flee in search of pastures green. And they are caught up in whether it's the capsizing of boats in the Mediterranean as they try to cross into Europe, or the inhumane and unimaginable conditions they are exposed in places like Libya as they try to escape. And when they do escape, and those that end up in places like Cambodia or Georgia or many, many places that are not even half endowed the way Biafra land is endowed. And they suffer. And they don't want to be there. And they pray every day. And the little menial job they do, the little money they earn, some fraudsters who brandish themselves as leaders of Biafra struggle collect it from them and improve their own lives. And this, unfortunately, is bringing our struggle into disrepute. And people are asking questions. Genuine people, even at home, are saying, we don't know Amande Aneze. Who do we follow? What do we do? And this is where BGIE needs to be stronger, to step in and provide leadership and direction. But it's not as simple as that, because there are, conflicting and complex situations in the homeland that needs to be patiently navigated in order for us to engage the right people, the right minds into, the creation of the mechanisms that we need to actually, begin to deliver on self-determination of Biafra, which it has been, if it wasn't apparent in the past, it has become so apparent on the back of the last election and the decision of this tribunal, and what Tinubu is doing in the Nigerian government today, that Eastern Region Biafra land has no stake whatsoever in the contraption called Nigeria. And therefore, what do? We must find a way to build our own nation, to restart those economic miracles that our fathers engineered in the past, which will put us on the map of the world. Because we have the potential, and we know that we are that city which is set on the hill which cannot be hidden. And that we know that if we pull together, if we break these barriers and come together and re-establish ourselves, there'll be no mountain too high, and there'll be no valley too deep for us. In science, in technology, in medicine, in art, in entertainment, name it, everywhere, from the west to the north to the east, all over the globe, that you will not find a Biafra man on top of his game. And this is the nation that everybody is afraid of. And that is why America and the UK said they don't want to have another Japan on their hands, because Biafra has the potential to even be greater than Japan. But if everyone else decide that we will not be, the onus falls on us squarely to look inwards and say, no, we must be. If the enemy said we cannot be, then we must huddle together, hold our hands together, and with one voice say, we must be. And that is the only way our tribe, our nation can endure, can re-emerge, and become a force to reckon with. It is possible, it is doable, but we need the will, the determination, the honesty to be able to deliver it. And this is what each and every one of us should think about every day, should sleep on every day, and think not only of now, but of tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, because that is important.
This is BCB, and this is Rosama. I want to thank the PM for visiting with us today and for this long overdue conversation about the state of things in Biafra land and the implications of the current happenings in Nigeria for Biafrans. To our listeners, I want to say thank you. I hope that you'd continue to listen to us in the future. We will come to you through the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. I wish you peace. In a few days, we will commemorate the International Peace Day, September 21st. BCB hopes that you take that moment to pause, think of peace, what peace would mean in Biafra land. Let's work towards a peaceful restoration of the sovereign state of Biafra. Thank you. Like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube. We hope to hear from you with comments and observations. Thank you again. This is Rosama, and this is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. Peace. Thank you for listening to us today. Join us next time for news, cultural, and educational programs. This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.
Hail to Biafra, consecrated nation. Oh, fatherland, this we must only pledge. Defending thee shall be our dedication. Krishna.